Om Jnana-timirandasya-jnana-anjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Mandeham Shri Gurun Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasa Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay. We are here in the chapter 4, sloka number 25. Daivam heva pare yajnam yogina paryupasate brahmagnav apare yajnam yajne naivopa juhvati. Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, and some offer sacrifices in the fire of the Supreme Brahman. So, purport as described above, a person engaged in discharging duties in Krishna consciousness is also called a perfect yogi or a first class mystic. But there are others also who perform similar sacrifices in the worship of demigods, and still others who sacrifice to the Supreme Brahman or the impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord. So there are different kinds of sacrifices in terms of different categories. Such different categories of sacrifices by different types of performers um, only superficially demark varieties of sacrifice. Actually, sacrifice means to satisfy the Supreme Lord Vishnu, who is also known as Yajna. All the different varieties of sacrifices can be placed within two primary divisions, namely sacrifices of worldly possession and sacrifices in pursuit of transcendental knowledge. So those who are in Krishna consciousness sacrifice all material possessions for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, while others who want some temporary happiness sacrifice their material possessions to satisfy demigods such as Indra, the sun god, etc. And others who are impersonalists sacrifice their identity by merging into the existence of impersonal Brahman. Right? So the demigods are powerful living entities appointed by the Supreme Lord for the maintenance and supervision of all material functions like the heating, watering, lighting of the universe. Those who interested, those who are interested, um, those who are interested in material benefits worship the demigods by various sacrifices according to Vedic rituals. They are called Bhava Ishwaravadi or believers in many gods. But others who worship the impersonal feature of the absolute truth and regard the forms of the demigods as temporary sacrifice their individual selves in the supreme fire and thus end their individual existence by merging into the existence of the supreme. Such impersonalists sacrifice their time in philosophical speculation to understand the transcendental nature of the Supreme. In other words, the fruity workers sacrifice their material possessions for material enjoyment, whereas the impersonalists sacrifice their material designations with a view to merge into the existence of the Supreme. Right? So here we see like the whole thing is summarized, whole the thing that we read till now is summarized in this one line. So the materialist, there are different kinds of sacrifices are there, and so people give up things, for attaining something better. People give up something lower to attain something better, and we have seen this thing happening. Every businessman, he puts an investment, to get a good return, right? So in the same way, we can see that the materialists, they put their possession in sacrifice, for attaining better sense gratification. And the impersonalist, they sacrifice their identity to merge in the existence of the Lord, which they consider to be liberation. Okay, for the impersonalist, the fire altar of sacrifice is the supreme Brahman, and the offering is the self being consumed by the fire of Brahman. The Krishna conscious person like Arjuna, however, sacrifices everything for satisfaction of Krishna, and thus all his material possessions as well as his own self, everything is sacrificed for Krishna. Thus, he is the first class yogi, but he does not lose his individual existence. So the Mayavadis want to exhaust themselves. They put themselves into the fire of Brahman and then lose their individual identity. But then a Krishna conscious person, he doesn't lose his individual identity, but then he offers himself in the service of Krishna for his satisfaction. Right? Okay, Shrothradhinindriyanyanye samyagha juhvati shabdadhin vishayam anya indriyagnishu juhvati. Okay, the unadulterated brahmacharis, sacrifice the hearing process and the sense in the fire of mental control, and others, regulated householders, sacrifice the objects of senses in the fire of the senses. This is a very, very important principle, both for brahmacharis and for the grahasthas. Two important principles mentioned. So one of it is like, hmm, here we see that the hearing process is a sacrifice that is done by the brahmacharis. For them it is very, very important, the quality of shravanam, the quality, how nicely we are hearing the message of Krishna consciousness. That is very, very important, and that makes a lot of difference. Those who properly hear and the holy names, those who properly hear the lectures of Srila Prabhupada and then reading of books of Srila Prabhupada, they'll make tremendous advancement. But then if we are only doing some physical service, are definitely needed, and all of us must do. But then if we are just only focused on only the physical activities and not give importance for this quality hearing, then we will not grow properly in the Krishna consciousness. So we will, in fact, Prabhupada once he told that the huge deity worship, like we have only photographs in our center. So if we have deity worship, so then there is so much of energy that is required, so much like 6 times of boga that is offered, so much of cooking is required, and daily dress changing of the deities is there, and 6 aartis have to be performed, and so many festivals and upacharas and all those things are there. So devotees are very nicely, happily doing all these things. And Prabhupada was mentioning that if you don't hear properly, then you'll think that after some time you'll think this old man, he gave this burden, showing the hand towards the deity. He gave this burden and we have to take care of this burden now. So we'll think like that. It is better, it is very important for us to hear the message of Krishna consciousness again and again. By keeping on hearing, we will maintain the service attitude towards the Lord. If hearing process goes down, everything is finished. For especially for brahmacharis, it is very, very important, the process of hearing, right? And then uh, for the regulated householders, they offer the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses, right? And for brahmacharis, there is another thing is mentioned, the senses in the fire of mental control or the sense control. So they offer their senses in the in the process of sense control. They are not engaging in the sense objects. So they cannot do the second one. So they cannot offer sense objects in the senses. That is not possible. So like they have taken a vow of not associating with the sense objects too much. So then like they sacrifice the senses themselves in the fire of control, mental control, right? Let's see the purport. The members of the 4 divisions of human life, namely the brahmachari and the grahastha, the vanaprastha and the sannyasi, are all meant to become perfect yogis or transcendentalists. That means everyone has an opportunity to perform devotional service, but one person cannot imitate the other person. So brahmachari should live according to the rules and regulations of that ashram, and a grahastha must live the rules and regulations of that ashram. So we can gain inspiration from the dedication of other people, but then we cannot follow what they are following. No, that is not possible, right? So, and everyone are meant to become, devotees of the Lord, right? So in every ashram there is a good opportunity that is given to become a good devotee of the Lord. No, it's not that only sannyasis are good and other people they cannot progress. No, sufficient opportunity is there in every ashram, no, for progress in Krishna consciousness. Okay, since human life is not meant for our enjoyment, meant for our enjoying sense gratification like the animals, the four orders of human life are so arranged that one may become perfect in spiritual life. You know, so human life is not optimized for sense gratification. So it is mentioned that if somebody wants to eat, nobody can eat like elephant. No, and if somebody wants to sleep, nobody can sleep like polar bear. And if somebody wants to, what is that? In every way, in whatever way of sense gratification you want, you take animals are better than us. We cannot compete with them. So because we are not made for that, we are made for something else, and that is for spiritual perfection. And that's something that we can do very nicely in human form of life, right? So all other sense gratificatory process, like they can do very well. Engineering, nobody can build like a spider web, you know. So we have to still depend on external objects, external raw materials. But there are many animals, they make wonderful colonies and wonderful houses they make, and they have not gone to any engineering college and they do it. So it's like in every way we see that animals are better off than us, except for the matter of no spirituality. So that is the no purpose for which the human life is meant for. And in evolved societies, this varnashram system is followed. And what could be the purpose of the varnashram system? Obviously, spiritual growth, right? So that's what we are meant for. And any system, which is evolved, which is followed by very advanced people, obviously they will have it'll have some nice this one of nice facilities for spiritual growth, right? So in that way, all the four ashramas, brahmacharya ashram, grahastha ashram, anapastha ashram, and sannyasa ashram, all of them are designed for spiritual growth. Maybe you want, no, you cannot live without sense objects. Okay, you live, but then no, grow spiritually. No, okay, if you can give up sense objects, it's good. You can enter into the other ashram, and there also the purpose is spiritual growth. It's not that, oh, now I'm a grahastha, like no, the spiritual growth is only for the renunciants and things like that. No, I'll go a little slow and things like that. So then that is not the purpose of these ashramas, different ashramas. So ashrama means a place where there is spiritual growth is happening. No, otherwise spiritual growth is not happening, then it cannot be called as an ashrama, right? So all of the phases of life is supposed to be an ashram, and the person is supposed to switch from one ashram to another ashram as the time progresses and as the needs are there, right? So in this way, like we see that everything is perfectly arranged for progress in spiritual life. Hmm. Okay, the brahmacharis or students under the care of a bona fide spiritual master control the mind by abstaining from sense gratification. So a brahmachari hears only words concerning Krishna consciousness. Hearing is the basic principle for understanding, and therefore the pure brahmachari engages fully in Hare Nama Anukirtanam, chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord. So he restrains himself from the vibrations of material sounds, and his hearing is engaged in transcendental sound vibration of Hare Krishna. Right. So this is an important principle that, no, anyways, here we have in the physical class we have some brahmacharis also there. So it's very important. No, I focus on this subject also. Like in the Zoom, we have all grahasthas are there. So we see that the hearing process, how a brahmachari is able to give up the attachment to the sense objects, it is by engaging the senses in Krishna's service, especially engaging the ears in hearing the narrations of the Lord. So throughout the day, wherever we get gap, wherever we get little, this one, so immediately we should, plug on to something and we should be hearing something, or we should chant and hear the Hare Krishna mantra. So if this if this is not done, so then obviously the ear will be engaged or the senses will be engaged in something material. And if it gets engaged in something material, then no, it will just pull us off. We cannot maintain, to be as a brahmachari for a long time, right? So it's very difficult. And especially the Maya works over time to pull down, you know. So those people who are renouncing and those people who want to live a strict life, Maya is very always there to pull them down. So we should be very alert, and we should see that, always engaged in Hare Nama Anukirtanam, chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord is a very important principle. And in this way, we can actually automatically we will get restrained from material sound vibration, and like all other things, all other sense objects will automatically go far away if we keep ourselves busy in Krishna consciousness. So one of the important things in renounced life is that we have to keep ourselves completely busy. No, not even 1 second should be wasted, or no, it should always be tight. The plan and schedule should always be tight. That we keep doing something. No, even if we don't know what to do, like no, keep doing something. That's very important. So that's how we actually save ourselves. Okay. The next is, similarly, the householders who have some license for sense gratification perform such acts with great restraint. Sex life, intoxication, and meat eating are general tendencies of human society. Loke vyavaya mishamadya seva nityahi jantur nahi tatra chodana. So this is like general tendency of every human being. No, sex life, intoxication, and meat eating. So, but a regulated householder does not indulge in unrestricted sex life and other sense gratification. Marriage on the principles of religious life is therefore current in all civilized human society, because that is the way for restricted sex life. The restricted unattached sex life is also a kind of yajna, because the restricted householder sacrifices general tendency towards sense gratification for higher transcendental life, right? So this is also a very important principle. It's not that in the Kali Yuga, in people who are not spiritually cultured, they look upon marriage as an institution for just enjoyment. And actually speaking, it is a tapasya. It is also an yajna. It has to be performed in that way. And if we observe all the principles which governs the Grahastha ashram, so that is also a very amazing ashram. But then we need to know them and we need to properly follow them. So then that also can be an yajna, right? Okay, text 27. Sarva nindriya karmani prana karmani chapare atma samyamya yogagno juhvati jnana deepite. Others who are interested in achieving self-realization through control of the mind and senses offer functions of all the senses and of the life breath as oblations into the fire of the controlled mind. So this is the other people like who are doing yoga. The yoga system conceived by Patanjali is referred to herein. The Yoga Sutra of Patanjali, in the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali, the soul is called Pratyagatma and Paragatma. As long as the soul is attached to sense enjoyment, it is called Paragatma. But as soon as the same soul becomes detached from such sense enjoyment, it is called Pratyagatma. The soul is subjected to the functions of 10 kinds of air at work within the body. I think we discussed this in detail in Srimad Bhagavatam, right? And this is perceived through the breathing system. The Patanjali system of yoga instructs one on how to control the functions of the body's air in a technical manner, so that ultimately all the functions of the air within becomes favorable for purifying the soul of material attachment. According to this yoga system, Pratyagatma is ultimate goal. This Pratyagatma is withdrawn from activities in matter. The senses interact with the sense objects like the ear for hearing, eyes for seeing, nose for smelling, tongue for tasting, and hands for touching. And all of them are thus engaged in activities outside the self. They are called the functions of the pranavayu. The this pranavayu is for this one of all the senses, activating the senses. So the apana vayu goes downwards, vayana vayu acts to shrink and expand, samana vayu adjust the equilibrium, udana vayu goes upwards, and when one is enlightened, One engages in all these in searching for self-realization. So this is like the Patanjali system of yoga is like going to the nuts, bolts, and those technical this ones, and then setting it right and things like that. And Bhakti Yoga means like you just surrender to the Lord and let the Lord do all these things. He'll just by his desire, he'll fix it up everything. And you can go on. So it's more technical, the Ashtanga Yoga processes. Text 28. Dravya yajnas tapo yajnas yoga yajnas tata pare svadhyaya jnana yajnascha yat yatayah smita samsita vrataha. Having accepted strict vows, some become enlightened by sacrificing their possessions, and others by performing severe austerities, by practicing the yoga of Eightfold Mysticism, or by studying the Vedas to advance in transcendental knowledge. So, Swadhyaya, no, Swadhyaya means self study, right? So, we have to Swa Adhyaya, no, like uh, doing self study of the Vedas is called Swadhyaya. So, every devotee must do a swadhyaya for his personal self reading and then contemplation and things like that, mananam and things like that. Okay, translation. Having accepted strict vows, some become enlightened by sacrificing their possessions, and others by performing severe austerities, by practicing yoga of Eightfold Mysticism, or by studying the Vedas to advance in transcendental knowledge. Purport. These sacrifices may be fitted into various divisions. There are persons who are sacrificing their possessions in the form of various kinds of charities. In India, the rich mercantile community or the princely order open various kinds of charitable institutions like Dharmashala, Annakshetra, Atitishala, Anathalaya, and Vidyapita. So, in other countries too, there are many hospitals, old age homes, and similar charitable foundations meant for distributing food, education, and medical treatment free to the poor. All these charitable activities are called Dravyamaya Yajna. So they are like sacrificing the dravya or the material elements, no, for someone else, right? There are others who for higher elevation in life or for promotion to the higher planets within the universe voluntarily accept many kinds of austerities such as Chandrayana or Chaturmasya. These processes entail severe vows for conducting life under certain rigid rules. For example, under the Chaturmasya vow, the candidate does not shave for 4 months during the year July to October. No, it's just a rough time is given, but no, it's based on the no the tithi. The tithi varies a little bit here and there. Okay. He does not eat certain foods, does not eat twice in a day, or does not leave home. Such sacrifices of comfort of life is called tapomaya yajna. So the previous one was dravyamaya, and this is tapomaya. There are still others who engage themselves in different kinds of mystic yogas, like the Patanjali system for merging into the existence of the Absolute, or the Hatha Yoga system or Ashtanga Yoga for particular perfections. And some travel to all sanctified places of pilgrimage. So that is also one of the this ones. And all these practices are called Yoga Yajna, and then uh, sacrifice for a certain type of perfection in the material world. There are others who engage themselves in the studies of different Vedic literatures, specifically the Upanishads and Vedanta Sutras, or the Sankhya philosophy. All of these are called Swadhyaya Yajna. They are also performing some kind of yajna or engagement in sacrifice of studies. All these yogis are faithfully engaged in different types of sacrifice and are seeing a higher status of life. Krishna consciousness, however, is different from these because it is the direct service of the Supreme Lord. Krishna consciousness cannot be attained by any one of the above mentioned types of sacrifice, but can be attained only by the mercy of the Lord and his bona fide devotees. Therefore, Krishna consciousness is transcendental. So how do we say this? How do we derive this equation? Krishna consciousness is transcendental. That means it is beyond matter, because any kind of material endeavor, you give charity to hundreds of people, you do all kind of charitable activities, you cannot get Krishna consciousness. So how can you get spirit by matter? No, to do something material, You will get only material result. You will get some material punya, wherein you will get Janma, Aishwarya, Shuta, Shri. So good birth, Aishwarya is like wealth, and Shuta is good education, and Shri means beauty. So these four are the resultants of no punya karma, no the resultants of some material punya karma. And if we do this charitable activity and things like that, so we will get this Janma, Aishwarya, Shuta, Shri. That's all. No, we will not get Krishna consciousness, which is transcendental to know all these things. And tapo yajna, this yajna, that yajna, all these things, whatever we studied before, no, like dravya yajna, tapo yajna, and yoga yajna, and things like that, all of them doesn't have any relation with Krishna. So they cannot give any transcendental result. So they can only give material result because transcendental stuffs, no, or the stuffs which are divine, they cannot be produced by manipulating matter, no, or sacrificing matter or manipulating matter. We cannot attain. So it has to be like the central point should be Krishna. No, and divine things, spiritual things can only be got by spiritual endeavors. No, or spirit, like spirit comes from spirit, or devotion comes from devotion. So bhakti comes from bhakti and not from anything material. So somebody is like very good in charitable activities, he'll become a devotee. Not sure. You know, he should get a mercy of a devotee. So that is when he'll get, not because of the charitable activities. He may not get that.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, why Prabhuji nowadays no Bhagavatam reading?
Oh, okay. So this is Gita Jayanti month. So like we thought this month full we will have Gita reading.
Okay, Prabhuji. I was not in station. That's why I got confusion why only Bhagavad Gita. That's why I asked you.
Okay, okay. Mhm.
Hare
So
Krishna.
this month we will do Bhagavad Gita.
Okay, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
अपाने जुह्वति पराम अपाने जुह्वति प्राणम प्राणे फानम तथा परे प्राणापानगति रुद्वा प्राणायाम परायणा अपरे नियताहारः प्राणान् प्राणेषु जुह्वति. Still others who are inclined to the process of breath restraint to remain in trance practice by offering the movements of the outgoing breath into the incoming and the incoming breath into the outgoing, and thus at last remain in trance, stopping all breathing. Still others, curtailing the eating process, offer the outgoing breath into itself as a sacrifice. So this is like neutralizing. So this is how a yogi, no, he gets to a point of what is that? He doesn't require anything external because no, like upward air, he's manipulating to send it into the downward air, and then no, it gets neutralized. And then all airs like that, he just balances all 10 kinds of airs. He just neutralizes one with the other, and he gets hits a perfect state of equilibrium. He doesn't require any food. He doesn't require any sleep. He doesn't require any this one. He just remains in trance. So that's a very amazing feat that they perform. Okay, so let's see the purport. This system of yoga for controlling the breathing process is called pranayama, and in the beginning it is practiced in the hatha yoga system through different sitting postures. All of these processes are recommended for controlling the senses and for advancement in spiritual realization. So the whole process of breathing exercise is meant for just controlling the senses. It's not the end of everything. After controlling the senses, what is the point of whole circus of controlling the breath, controlling the bodily asanas and things like that? To get to a point of, okay, I have controlled my senses. The senses are not going to come in the way of my meditation. So then full focus is there on the meditation on the Lord. So that is important. This is just a state setting. It is not the ultimate purpose like for which we are doing everything, right? So the in the Krishna conscious process also, like we control the senses. How do we control the senses? We engage the senses in the service of the Lord. So that takes care of the devotional service, and that takes care of the control of the senses. In both the ways, it is it is taken care of. It's like hatha yoga process means like if a naughty child is there and it's creating so much of naughty activities, and you are training the child that how he should stop everything and he should sit down in one place. No, that's the training, and that's little difficult actually. Now, obviously, that's difficult. And then the bhakti yoga process means like no, we can actually engage the child in something useful. No, okay, let's do some gardening, let's do some this one. No, let's take care of this and that and all. So then the child also is busy engaged, and he is automatically his notorious activities stop. So in the same way, Hatha Yoga system, so much of circus is done just for controlling the senses. And then they have to focus on the Lord. So like Bhakti Yoga system, directly you focus on the Lord, senses will automatically be controlled. That's the process of Bhakti Yoga. Okay. So all these processes are recommended for controlling the senses and for advancement in spiritual realization. This practice involves controlling the airs within the body so as to reverse the direction of air passage. The apana air goes downwards and the prana air goes upwards. The pranayama, the pranayama yogi practices breathing the opposite way until the currents are neutralized into puraka, equilibrium. Offering the exhaled breath into the inhaled breath is called rechaka. When both air currents are completely stopped, one is said to be in Kumbhaka Yoga. By practice of Kumbhaka Yoga, one can increase the duration of life for perfection in spiritual realization. The intelligent yogi is interested in attaining perfection in one life without waiting for the next. By practicing Kumbhaka Yoga, the yogi increases the duration of life by many, many years. Right? So this is how they increase the life duration. But then, okay, let's see. Prabhupada himself writes, a Krishna conscious person, however, being always situated in transcendental loving service of the Lord, automatically becomes controller of the senses. His senses, being always engaged in the service of Krishna, have no chance of becoming otherwise engaged. So at the end of life, he is naturally transferred to the transcendental plane of Lord Krishna. Consequently, he makes no attempt to increase his longevity. He is at once raised to the platform of liberation, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 14:26. Mam chayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samiti thaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in unalloyed devotional service to the Lord transcends the modes of material nature and is immediately elevated to the spiritual platform. So we see that a Krishna conscious person, he doesn't do this circus for prolong his life. So Krishna is telling like you just be engaged 24 hours in service of the Lord, and then if you're dying in that state, it's okay. Like no, Krishna is saying whatever distance you couldn't able to cover in the process of self-realization, Krishna is telling I'll take care. I'll take you through. So a yogi doesn't have a promise like this. He has to do everything by himself. Yogi is like a grown-up kid. He doesn't want any help from the parents, and he wants to do everything himself. And devotee is a child who's dependent on the Lord. He is fully dependent on the mercy of the Lord. He does the best, what he can, and rest is fed fed by the parents. So like that. Krishna is telling that no sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha shami master. You just surrender it to me. Still, how much more papa is there with you? I'll clear it all. I'll take you to moksha. I'll get you through the whole this one. Just like somebody told me that they went to Guruvayur and then they didn't have ticket and they were suddenly put inside into the queue. So it's like there is no qualification, but then they're just put into. So that's bhakti yoga. So other process of yoga means like get a proper ticket and stand in the line, and then sometimes the time is like too much that they lose interest in taking darshan of the Lord and they go off from the line. So that's other yogas. So bhakti yoga means like it's we do our best and Krishna takes care of the rest, right? That a Krishna conscious person begins from the transcendental stage and he is constantly in that consciousness. Therefore, there is no falling down and ultimately he enters into the abode of Lord without delay. The practice of reducing eating is automatically done when one eats only Krishna Prasad or food which is offered first to the Lord. Reducing the eating process is very helpful in the matter of sense control. It's very powerful point. We were having some discussions on this. Reducing the heating process is very helpful in the matter of sense control. And without sense control, there is no possibility of getting out of material entanglement. Right? Okay. Text 30. Sarve piyete yajnavido yajna kshapitha kalmashah yajna sishta mrita bujo yanti brahma sanatanam yajna shishta mrita bujo. So yajna shishta mrita means prasadam. No? Like what? That which is the remnants of an yajna, or that which is sanctified by yajna, that is prasadam. Right? So let us see the translation. All these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reactions, and having tasted the nectar of the results of sacrifice, they advance towards the supreme eternal atmosphere. We saw so many different yogis, so many different kinds of people, like we discussed about different kinds of yajna has been performed by different kinds of people, but all of them resort to yajna shishta. All of them resort to that prasad. So it is the modern day, even in well-cultured families, this concept of prasad is gone. So it is like completely gone. Actually, in the past, in every home, there used to be like some method of sacrifice would be there, and they would, like, sacrifice is the main central theme of the life, actually. And there will be Yajna, there will be the prasad, and the people only used to consume prasad. So they would not just go, okay, like, they're just walking by and kuch acha laga, like, no, like a khaliya. So that is not the way of this one, the Vedic system. So it is the modern culture that, there is some tela wala is there, he's putting some dosa, or, something, or samosa and things like that. And people just buy and eat directly. That's all. Neither he offers anything in sacrifice, and neither the person who's buying offers anything in sacrifice. So everything is just, gulped in, right? So that is like completely wrong, right? So Yajna Shishta is a very, very important principle. Okay. So such people advance towards supreme eternal atmosphere. No, all kinds of yogis, not just bhakti yogis, all kinds of yogis, they do this. Purport: from the foregoing explanation of different types of sacrifices, namely sacrifice of one's possession, study of the Vedas or philosophical doctrines, and performance of yoga system, it is found that the common aim of all is to control the senses. Sense gratification is the root cause of material existence. Therefore, unless and until one is situated on the platform apart from sense gratification, there is no chance of being elevated to the eternal platform of full knowledge, full bliss, and full life. So this is a very, very powerful statement. Especially in the Kali Yuga, we see that anything but this is accepted as okay. Like, just unleash your senses, just use your senses as you like, and people are suffering like anything because of that. So because people don't know sukham atyantikam yatat buddhigrahyam atindriyam. So real happiness is beyond atindriyam. It is beyond the senses. No, it is not with the senses. And people are cheated thoroughly, that they are convinced that sense gratification is the way of life and sense gratification is the way to get happiness. So no, they are just engaged in sense gratification. But the real happiness is beyond the sense gratification. It is on the transcendental plane. And no, that is why all the processes of yoga, all the processes of sacrifice, aim at this thing, that sense control is very, very essential. Very essential, that needs to be done. Okay, this platform is in the eternal atmosphere or Brahman atmosphere. All the above mentioned sacrifice help one to become cleansed of the sinful reactions of material existence. By this advancement in life, one not only does one become happy and opulent in this life, but also at the end, he enters into the eternal kingdom of God, either merging into the impersonal Brahman or associating with the Supreme Personality of God, Krishna. Okay, that's great. Text 31. Nayam lokosti ayanjasya kutonya kuru sattama. O best of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice, one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next? So it's a very nice, very short and sweet sloka. Just says, Sacrifice is the core principle of the life. Without sacrifice, nobody can live peacefully. Hmm. And here, we are taught that you should never do any sacrifice. If you keep giving, then people will exploit you. So you should learn how to extract, how to exploit, how to save things for yourself, right? So then you will be happy. And people are in that pursuit. They are actually becoming more and more distressed and more, like the whole competition in the material world is created like this. Otherwise, in the Vedic society, there is no competition for material life. People ask that's why sometimes people say that, oh, no, you people are doing Krishna consciousness and following Vedic system and things like that. Oh, that means you lose all enthusiasm in your life. You will not make any progress. All your life is gone. No, they'll tell like that. Why? Because their only thing that they know is progress in material life. In Vedic society, material life is just a part of it. Like, no, you just have to do something about it. That's all. And progress is on spiritual side. No, why to waste time in the progressing on material life? And whatever is destined for us, if we have to become a Karorpati, we will become. Whether you endeavor or not, you will become. And but you will not become Krishna conscious just like that. You will not become spiritualized just like that. That needs endeavor, right? So no, the Vedic society was very, very clear. It was so amazing that all of them knew that our business is to progress spiritually, and material life, yeah, no, it will be there. No, I have to just take care of this body, just like maintaining a vehicle. So petrol has to be put, cleaning has to be done, and things like that. Same way, like some food has to be put in, and then some cleaning has to be done, and some clothes have to be put. That's it. And get going. So where to go? No, we have to go back to the spiritual world, right? So I always remember this joke very. Listen, I found it somewhere. Somebody had forwarded. So one traveler comes to India, and then he goes to a sadhu's ashram. And sadhu's ashram, there is no furniture over there. He's seeing, and and this person is asking like, no, where are your furniture? So the sadhu is telling, he's asking, where are your furniture? Telling, I'm a traveler. No, my house is there in abroad, and I'm just traveling here. I don't have any furniture. And the sadhu says, I'm also a traveler. My house is there in the spiritual world. So I don't have any furniture. So no, the devotees don't spend time accumulating a lot of material things. And so more material things, more possessions a person has. So a sadhu, he can have the possession of books. Now that's very nice. He can have books, a lot of books can be there. But other possessions, no, as minimal as possible, as bare minimal as possible. So because no, more the material possessions, it's like we are trying to cross the ocean of material existence, and we have got this human body as the boat. And in that boat, if we put a lot of stones in it, you're crossing the material ocean. So we have to travel light. So that's a very important principle. We have to travel light, and so in that way we can proceed to the spiritual journey nicely. So the sacrifice is the main principle of Krishna consciousness, right? So we will finish this purport, and then we'll take the questions. Whatever form of material existence one is in, one is invariably ignorant of his real situation. In other words, existence in the material world is due to the multiple reactions of our sinful lives. Ignorance is the cause of sinful life. So we all know that how the starting point or the crux of our material existence is ignorance, ajnana. So, like, why we are sinful? Because ajnana. We are caught up by the witch of ajnana. No, that is the main this one. And by studying the scriptures and by chanting the names of the Lord, our senses become purified. Once the senses become purified, then jnana arises. Right. So jnana doesn't arise by the way of accumulating knowledge by theoretically. No, the purification of senses happens. Then the real knowledge comes. Right. So all this process, like study of scriptures, hearing, chanting, all these things are processes of purifying our senses. And once the senses become purified, the knowledge arises and ignorance goes. And knowledge arises, immediately what will happen? It will destroy sin. No, ignorance is the root cause of sin, and knowledge is the root cause of destroying the sin. Right. So when the knowledge arises, when the senses become purified and knowledge arises, then the sin is destroyed. Once the sin is destroyed, so then he becomes happy. he becomes very bright and very happy. So that's the point. Like we are looking towards this knowledge. Okay, so ignorance is the cause of sinful life, and sinful life is the cause of one's dragging on in material existence. So the human form of life is the only loophole by which one can get out of this entanglement. The Vedas therefore give us a chance for escape by pointing out the path of religion, economic comfort, regulated sense gratification, at last the means to get out of the miserable condition entirely. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So, anyways, the previous point is very nice, apt for this month of book distribution. So, like all of the people, why they are suffering? Because they have performed sins. They're getting the reactions. Why did they perform sins? Because of ignorance. And by distributing Bhagavad Gita, they will get knowledge, right? So we can actually liberate them, from the cycle of birth and death, and we can actually take them out of all problems. So the problems can be like, they don't have food, they don't have money, they don't have peace of mind, they're depressed, and this and that. So many varieties of problem could be there. So why a person is depressed? Until unless he had committed a sin, he cannot be dragged into that depressed condition. He cannot go through that miserable condition. So because he committed some sin, he's going through some difficulty. And what is the root of the sin is ignorance. And if we distribute Bhagavad Gita's, then people will learn that, and they'll come out of the sin. They'll come out of ignorance. They'll get to knowledge, and knowledge destroys sin, and they'll become happy. Right. So this is the root cause. Solving the root cause of the problem. Right. So if we keep solving the symptoms, ignorance is still there, safely sitting inside. You go and feed somebody. His one symptom is cured, but ignorance is still sitting. It will pop up another problem. How many problems we'll keep handling? It'll be a battle that you keep handling, but you're not solving the root cause. So there'll be ample opportunity to keep doing this again and again and again. This problems will never solve. So that's this one. So that's why Vidyadan is considered to be the most highest amongst all the kinds of this one. So other kinds of Dravya Dan, that is like the financial help, or the even Annadan and things like that also, they are not considered on the platform of Vidyadan. Vidyadan is considered to be really very high. And Krishna also mentions that Tesham evanukampatam aham antyanajam tamaha nashayami atma bhavasto jnana deepena bhashyate. Krishna is telling, when I become very merciful on the living entities, I destroy their ignorance and I light the lamp of knowledge in their heart. That's the ultimate help anybody could do, right? Okay. So the path of religion, or the different kinds of sacrifices recommended above, automatically solves our economic problems. By performance of yajna, we can have enough food, enough milk, etc., even if there is so-called increase of population. So why there is scarcity of things? It's not because of lack of rain. It's not because of like any other reason. It's because of lack of yajnas. Yajnat bhavati parjanya. If yajnas are performed, automatically the rainfall will be there, sufficient food will be there, economic development will be there, and we can increase the population and no problem. So, just by family control or reducing the population, the problem is not going to be solved. The problem is going to be solved by performance of yajna, right? And studying the Bhagavad Gita is also an yajna. So every day, all of us come together to perform a yajna, right? So in this way, we are saving the world just by coming together and hearing. We are saving the world. Okay. When the body is fully supplied, naturally the next stage is to satisfy the senses. The Vedas prescribe, therefore, sacred marriage for regulated sense gratification. Thereby, one is gradually elevated to the platform of release from material bondage, and the highest perfection of liberated life is to associate with the Supreme Lord. Perfection is achieved by performance of yajna, sacrifice, as described above. Now, if a person is not inclined to the performance of yajna according to the Vedas, how can he expect a happy life, even in this body, and what to speak of another body or another planet? So he cannot become happy, right? So without yajna, without sacrifice, there is no happiness in life. There are different grades of material comforts in different heavenly planets, and in all cases, there is immense happiness for persons engaged in different kinds of yajnas. But the highest kind of happiness that a man can achieve is to be promoted to the spiritual planets by the practice of Krishna consciousness. A life of Krishna consciousness is therefore the solution to all problems of material existence. This is the best sacrifice that can be done. Okay, so there is a question here. Other living entities, birds, animals, flowers, nature, etc., are so beautiful, colorful, and have so much detail in them. Humans are mixed, beautiful outside, ugly inside, and vice versa. Okay, so Lord would have taken more time to design them, definitely. Why did Lord create them externally beautiful but did not give them ability to speak, etc., or uplift them? It's not the Lord's problem. Lord has given the perfect solution. No, He has created the perfect being, that is Brahma. And when we come into this world, no, we are perfect in every respect. And then we commit a sin. No, we come when we commit a sin, then ugliness comes inside into our system. So how much ever ugly stuffs we are seeing, no, it's all because of our sin. And no, God is all perfect in His design. So so God's design is like is very, very perfect, so it doesn't require any this one. So we can see what is that it's basically like we cannot push our problem to the Lord's side. No, we also have something to decide upon. It's not that, no, all that is, actually speaking, all that is good, all that is bad that is there in this material world is because of us. No, all that is good that is there is because of the Lord. So that's the right way of seeing things, right? So, no, when the Lord sent us to this material world, He sent us very perfect. So, and by our karmic activities, now we have come to this state of existence, right? So it's not that Lord did not give the ability, certain abilities to somebody. It's that's just that if I don't have a particular ability, that means I have chosen not to have. So if I cheat somebody, no, of money, then I'll have to be poor in the next life. And then no, if I there are so many different ways in which, we commit sinful activities, and each of the sins result in some kind of a deficiency in a person. So in that way, like the perfectionist, rather than fixing each and every one of these sins and then getting a better human life or better human body, better to execute Krishna consciousness and get out of this place and go to the spiritual world. So accept, okay, fine, like, no, all these shortcomings are there, and there is no point in rectifying these shortcomings here. Let's just get out of this place. In the process of rectifying the shortcomings here, I may mess up something else, and something else may go wrong. Better like, no, don't endeavor to even do any rectification of shortcomings in this world. Just wind up and get to the spiritual world. And we have I think almost all of us here are at least 30-40 years old or more, and we have very little time to wind up. Even 20-30 years or ahead, that's also very little time to wind up. So we have to start the wind up process. It takes a lot of time to wind up things in this material world, right? So we should try to wind up and get to the Krishna consciousness. Okay, so with this, we'll come to end of today's discussion. So hope all of you try your best to distribute Bhagavad Gita's to different devotees. And Gopi Prabhu here amongst us, like, he's really inspiring. Like every day he's going to the Kundanali colony, to the Hanuman temple, and he is distributing books there. And then yesterday, some of our devotees also went to Martali Bridge to distribute some books. And it's really very nice to see that devotees are like doing something in this direction, and many of them have registered themselves for the online calling. So they will be assigned the numbers by afternoon. If you are also interested, please register yourself, and in this way we can call up some of those interested people who came to our Janmashtami or some different Gita course programs, and we can extend this opportunity to have a Bhagavad Gita with them, or probably they may help us in distributing it free to somebody. They may give Shastra Dan. So in this way, like, we can actually try to spread this knowledge and make people happy around us, right? Okay, thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.